Fox and Friends. And we are back, folks. Back from a couple of week hiatus on Steady Droppin Dimes. I was down and out. I was out and down. I was under the weather. They had to come get me, man. I was in a bad way, Devin.
All your life you had to fight.
I had to fight, man. I had to fight.
But that's one thing we and the people know about Samuel Jackson Two-Strap Webb III.
Yeah, man.
He's a fighter.
Hey, my wife, she had to hold me down. She had to rub me down.
Oh, God.
She had to rub me down. She did. She did. That's why I love my wife, man. She, like literally rubbed me down. So that's fine.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, Sam.
I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better thanks to my wife. So that's some benefits come with that. I'm like literally, just to give you some details. I thought I had the flu. It was something like the flu because it's the worst sore throat in history. I couldn't swallow. I was none of the cold and flu medications would work. I thought it was the flu. I thought it was COVID. None of the cold and flu medications would work. So I started popping ibuprofen, and they say you aren't supposed to take ibuprofen with the sore throats. And so then I stopped, Devin. I stopped doing it, and they said you just let it run its course. And then I started swallowing, and I started feeling the sore throat. I started feeling it in my ears. Like you would swallow, and I feel the pain in my ears. It was unbelievable. It was like the worst pain ever. I was feeling the body aches, and I was like, oh, my God, I couldn't. It was one of those days.
Sam, I don't want to hear this story.
I told Ira,
I got a lot going on, man.
I said, Ira, I told Ira, I said, man, I can't do this show. I can't do the round table. I can't do any of that. I can't do any of that. I was just laid up. I got through that. Thought I was over that. Said we're gonna grind through it. We're gonna try to work. Came out of that, and all of a sudden, man, I start itching all over my body. Devin, I was like, is my allergy medication?
Stop saying my name in this story, man.
I started itching all over my body, Devin. It's like, man, I wasn't taking my allergy medication because I ran out. And I said, okay, let me pop the allergy pill. And it was not working. I go to the doctor, they can't figure out what's wrong. And they cannot figure out a battery of tests, blood tests, everything. They can't figure out what's wrong. They said, okay, we're going to give you some steroids.
All you had to do was poop.
That's not true.
Sam had to poop, y'all.
That's not true. So they're trying to figure out what's wrong. Like literally, it's been an ordeal for a couple of weeks. And so I'm on an oral steroid and I'm on a topical steroid that has to be applied to my body. My wife has to rub it on my body. She has to rub it. She has to rub it on my body twice a day.
Nice.
So she has to rub it all over.
Could you please stop rubbing your? Can we just do the show? Can we?
So I get to have my wife rub the steroid on my body. So I think that's a good thing. Why is that? I mean, I appreciate my wife, man. I appreciate my wife for doing that for me. That's a great.
Yeah,
wife.
we do too. We glad to have you, man. Moving forward. That was a sick. Hey, man, that was one of your sickest soliloquies I've ever heard.
This is what I appreciate. This is what you do to try to get back just in time so I can do the spring game, get back to the people like, oh my God, I need the spring practice reports. First of all, for the people, I'm coming with the spring reports. Now, here's the thing. I wasn't going to do the spring practice blow by blows. Like from spring practice to spring practice. I had made a habit of every spring practice. I like, hey, this is what I'm hearing coming out of spring practice. Now, here's the problem with that, Devin. a dude could look good in a spring practice and then look terrible the next spring practice. Or somebody could just see one spring practice and think a dude look all world. He could not do crap the rest of the spring. And you think the dude just looked good, and then people only seen one spring practice, right? So that's the
read one article about one spring practice.
Right, or read one article about one spring practice. That's the volatility of doing the blow by blows. And so that was one of the reasons why I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. And the other thing is, listen, man, you talk about this all the time. Practice doesn't necessarily equate to games. It's not necessarily.
State Street and Main Street. Do we need to go over State Street and Main Street before we begin?
Yeah, it's not necessarily.
So State Street is, everybody knows State Street, especially the people that are watching. We do have some infiltrators a lot of times, but most of the people in Michigan, they understand State Street is the street, the main street throughout campus, right? It's the street that Schembechler Hall is on, where all the practices are held for the most part. And when I tell you, there has been many of Heisman Trophy winning performances on State Street. I'm just telling you. I'm going to tell you one story on State Street. Now, this doesn't actually apply to what we're talking about because this person was also a Main Street player. But, and so you guys know Main Street is where the actual stadium is, right? Two different places. But let me tell you a story about State Street, right? We're in practice, right? And the offense that's not in the game, that is not in the practice at that moment, not in the drill, they stand behind the offense. Obviously, defense stands on the sideline, right? So I remember Thomas Gordon, one of my good friends, he's blitzing off the edge, and Denard's the quarterback. I'm in the back. I used to have a jersey up. Sometimes I've had the abs out. But a lot of times, you had the shirt, depending on how I'm feeling. If I'm having not a good day, my shirt out and down, that means I'm not feeling it today. I ain't trying to flex the abs today. Okay? So I'm in the back, off to the right a little bit, right? Denard takes a snap, and Thomas blows off the edge. Denard didn't change the protection, nothing like that. The thing for Denard is he can deal with pressure without having to do all that, right? He's coming, and it looks like Denard doesn't see him. And at this point, I'm just kind of like, Denard about to get sacked. That's a notch on the belt for me, I get a chance to play maybe, which didn't happen frequently while Denard was in his prime. But he's coming off the edge, and Denard doesn't see him, and then he sees him at the last second and then darts past him, right? You've seen Denard run away from people all the time. But the next thing I'm going to tell you, you have not seen. He ran, and so I remember I'm off to the right, in the back, off to the right. But he got to get a little depth, right? He sprints past me. And Sam, I kid you not, I'm not making this up. My shirt fluttered in the wind. It fluttered like when he ran past me. Tom was like, what the heck? How'd that happen? And it was at that moment I knew I don't have a chance of playing. I got to start playing receiver a little bit. I got to do something. I have to do something. He just ran past me and my shirt fluttered in the wind. I can't do that. So until something happens, I'm going to have to start trying to catch passes because I need to help the team because I can, and I'm talented enough to do it. So I've never seen that happen in a real game. He never ran past nobody and they shirt fluttered. So even Denard, as great as he was on State Street, he was even better. I can go on and on. Amar Darbo with the one-hand catch on the sideline. That one made it to the internet somehow. They saw that. Unbelievable plays that are made on State Street. Mike Cox. Oh, Mike Cox was the greatest. Mike Cox was Adrian Peterson on State Street. I can say that for a fact. Now, he didn't get all the opportunities in the game, so we don't know what he could have been in the game. But on State Street, Adrian Peterson, bar none. He was amazing. So I tell you this to say, State Street and Main Street are two different places for a reason. The things that happen on State Street need to be taken with a grain of salt. Main Street, you got to wait for Main Street. And I'm not talking Main Street spring game. Even the spring game, that's still technically State Street. You don't see the whole go out to the warm-up, stadium kind of full, come out again, a few more people there, come out, and it's 110,000. Totally different. Totally different. That experience, my first time playing in the big house, when I go out there, I do my little warm-up. Oh, it's a couple fans. Oh, that's cool. Come back, slap hands. Come back out with the specialists, right? Oh, man, look, a few more people. It's a big house. It's cool. And you come out that last time, and it's 110,000 screaming. Oh, no. Totally different experience. So take it from me. State Street and Main Street, 2 different places.
So, that was another reason why, aside from being sick and needing the wife to, help take care of me, and avoiding the blow by blows and people getting carried.
Okay, stop with the blow by blows.
People were complaining that they say, "Hey man, you wrote about these dudes performing well in practice, and they didn't ball out. They didn't ball out when the games came around. Those reports you had weren't accurate about dudes balling out in practice." I said, "Well, hey, while that's preposterous what you just said, that doesn't what you just said doesn't make any sense. Just because they didn't do well in games doesn't mean they didn't do well in practice. You weren't paying attention, but I need to do a better job of meeting people where they are. So maybe I need to be more comprehensive in the reports, give you a broader perspective on things." So that was another reason why I said
broad stroke.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a broader view of reporting and look back over the span of 12 or 13 practices and talk to a lot of people and give you a comprehensive view of what people said about how he did over like the first 5 practices, and then what did it look like 1 through 5, and then what did it look like 6 through 13. That's what I'm doing today on Bryce, for instance, over on the MichiganInsider.com. So be sure to look out for that. But anyway, Steady Droppin Dimes back here today. Me and Devin. Daniel, unfortunately,
he caught what Sam had. He got what Sam had a little bit. He got it from you. He certainly got it from you. In case if y'all was wondering, you can catch things through this camera. And they not in the same room, but somehow he contracted the same thing that Sam got. So you better make sure you wear your mask even when on Zoom.
He didn't catch it from me. He caught something down in Florida. He's down bad today. So if you it sounds like he's on the mend, but if you pray, keep our man Daniel in your prayers. He's definitely.
But he got a wife too, so he can get his cream rubbed on him and all that too. So he'll be all right. He'll be good. Hey, put some salt on it. He'll be all right. A little dirt on it. He'll be all right.
Yeah, so he's but it sounds like he's on the mend. But Steady Droppin Dimes brought to you by our friends at the Ann Arbor Sports Commission, bringing you great sporting events right here in Washtenaw County, helping bring you those sporting events. And look, even the events that they are not bringing to town, they're helping you sort of find accommodations for those events that even when they aren't, like the spring game, for instance, that's not their event. But if you're coming to town for that event, you're looking for a place to stay, looking for great places to eat, places to be, places to gather, you need to go over to the Ann Arbor Sports Commission website. Again, annarbor.org. And you can find a bevy of options over on that website. It is your resource, annarbor.org/sports commission. You see it scrolling across the bottom of the site, across the bottom of the screen. Or if you're listening over on the podcast, annarbor.org/sports commission. And whenever you want to know about the great sporting events that are coming to town, or again, accommodations when you're coming to town for any of those sporting events, that is your resource. That is the place to go. So I know a lot of you are going to be in town for the spring game this weekend. Make sure you make it on over to the website. Again, definitely can be a great resource for you to find out where to go, where to be, where to stay. I know, for instance, folks want to be coming to town that morning or after the game, hangout spots, because this is one of the few events that's still free in Ann Arbor. So, and a lot of folks are going to be trying to hang out after the fact. Check out the Ann Arbor Sports Commission website for that if you're looking for some of those things. And a lot of need to know facts over on the website, and parking information as well. This is one of the events where, easy to park easier to park days of the year, the spring game is one of the few when it comes to sporting events that have to do with Michigan that is still in existence. So you can check that out over in the Ann Arbor Sports Commission website. By the way, affordable events when it comes to sports in town. Have you been able to check out soccer in Ann Arbor? AFC Ann Arbor soccer, by the way. The pitch, Ann Arbor. The pitch, Devin. That's what they call that's what they call the football field in soccer. See, I've been studying the lingo a little bit. They call it the pitch.
Football field.
Yeah, the pitch. It's the 10th year on the pitch in Ann Arbor for AFC Ann Arbor. On the men's side, the 6th year on the pitch. And the home opener for AFC Ann Arbor, the women's team is on May 9th. The home opener for the men's team is on May 10th. You can find all of your information for those games over on the AFC Ann Arbor page, annarbor.org. You can find that right now for the entire season. All of those games. It's a great family event. All the food trucks, all the things for the kids to do. So if you're enjoying the game, the kids playing on the side, the food trucks all going on over there, it is an affordable event. I believe kids 13 and under are free. So if you're looking for a great, affordable, family, fun, and friendly event right here in town, it is an outstanding option, and you can always find all of the local events right here in Washtenaw County over on the Ann Arbor Sports Commission events calendar page over at annarbor.org/sports commission. So be sure to check it out. Now, Devin, let's get back to the lecture at hand, if you will. We'll work our way back to the spring preview. We'll come over to the spring preview, because I got to get your thoughts on the big topic in sports first. And that's this NIL holdout.
Who is it from, Sam?
Nico. I almost cussed at you.
Who is it from, Sam? Say the person that did what is this whole, what is all the hoopla about? Who is it about?
I hate you. Hate you.
I just want to know who. Everybody in the chat, we're waiting. Who? Say the name, Sam.
Nico Iamaleava. Nico Iamaleava. I can't say his name, Devin.
I think I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Nico Iamaleava.
Nico Iamaleava. I can't say the man's name. You know who I'm talking about. Nico. Talk about Nico.
Yes.
I can say Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can say that.
Giannis or is it Kumpo?
Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can say that. But I can't say Nico Iamaleava. I can't say that.
Well, he hasn't played well enough for you to have to learn how to say that name. So that's good. There you go. Nico Iamaleava. So, as everyone knows, right? It's a big that's a very good job, Ben. Thank you, producer Ben. It's very easy to say Iamaleava. That's all it is. And I don't know why Sam continues to roll. He's been doing some weird stuff all day. He's talking about his massages, his itching, and now he's doing the tongue tricks with the name. What do you got going on, Sam? Are you okay?
No, I have not been okay.
What are you talking about? It's one L. But anyway, obviously it's well known, and every fan base right now is praying and hoping that this does not happen to their team. But Nico, the reports are saying that his team, his camp, and I'm gonna just be clear, Nico is not a very talkative person by trade, right? He's more reserved, more introverted rather than extroverted, which is, it can be an issue sometimes when you're the quarterback, but sometimes it can work in your favor because you don't desperately need the shine, I guess. But that's just who he is as fourth person. So when we're talking about this and all the reports that are coming out, I have to trust, just from seeing them and being around them the little that I have to trust that this is not Nico making these demands and doing all these things or suggesting that himself hold out, right? This is not the kid who is, he's a young adult. It's not him. It's his team, I would imagine. And the reports are that his team went in and said, hey, man, I know that, our defense was the strength of the team. And this is me just kind of being facetious in a way. I know that the defense is the strength of the team. I know that the last time you saw my client play, he was underwhelming, to be kind, and gave us no real chance to compete. However, the market says that he now deserves, and not necessarily the market. One school is paying a guy $4 million at Duke. I think the reports are, and I want to be the highest paid quarterback, basically. And I want to reverse to his recruitment a little bit, because a big booster at Tennessee did come out and say that they would always match the highest number for a quarterback. Now, they were saying that to make sure they get Nico, of course. And they were also saying that because they thought that they had this prized possession that would be a worthy contender, right? A guy that deserved the top of the market money. Well, I'm sure the boosters at Tennessee are thinking, we got to find someone else because this isn't the top of the market guy. And we're fine paying him the money that we owe him because that's how business should be done. However, we will not and shall not go to this extent for a quarterback who we don't believe has developed into the quarterback that we thought he might be just yet. And I think it's fair on their part, and I think it's fair on Nico's team part. Now, do I think they overshot? Absolutely. But if I'm the NIL group or whoever, I'm thinking, well, as a freshman, we paid you $2 million. You didn't contribute. That's back pay. If I'm looking at it, we paid you $2 million as a true freshman. You didn't play, right? We didn't even ask you to play. We wanted to help you develop, and then you play as a redshirt freshman or a sophomore, and we're still paying $2 million, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, whatever the case may be, at least $2 million, and you perform, but not at the elite level as far as stats or anything. Honestly, no SEC championship. The big dogs you didn't really do much against. You get in the playoff, and maybe it's because you got a bit of a soft schedule, so we had the necessary record, and they have a lot of SEC bias. You get in the playoff, and you lay an egg. So I'm on both sides because that's how business works, man. Your value is what someone's willing to pay you, and how would you know if you don't ask, right? Now, do I agree with sitting out of practice and all these different things? Absolutely not, right? Because now you put yourself in a pickle, right? You had the luxury of playing with a really good defense and playing with good teammates at Tennessee. Now you have no home, and you're getting into this after the spring, right? So now you're basically going to be a freshman again and learn a new offense. Now you're going to make a lot of money. However, what is the goal? That's the question I would like to ask every recruit, everyone. Is it just to make the most money in college, or a guy who has what a lot of people saw Nico's ceiling as being top pick in the draft? Right, they saw that as his ceiling coming out of high school, and even after a lackluster year, a lot of people still are saying they think that he has that type of talent. Well, if you have that type of talent, why are you trying to get all the money right now? That's the question I would ask. And remember, this is not about Nico. This is his team. That's the question I would ask his team. Why are you trying to get all the money right now? Is $2 million a year for a 20-year-old not enough? I mean, I guess, like I said, your worth is what people will pay you. But at some point, you have to be realistic and look in the mirror and say, well, I mean, maybe it's not my fault that we lost Ohio State, but I did not contribute to us being able to beat Ohio State. Right. So it's a conundrum of a situation. But one thing is kind of cool. He'll be able to be in the Big Ten, and I'm probably going to be the only one to know how to say his name. So because he can't be back in the SEC because of whatever rule they have where it's after spring or whatever the case may be. He can't transfer to an ACC school. So if you want to be who you want to be, ACC, I don't see that happening just because the league isn't as strong. The Big Ten is the other power league. And, you know, there are teams in the Big Ten that need a quarterback and teams in the Big Ten that have money. Are they willing to pay that much money? I don't know. But I think his team definitely overshot their shot. And I think that the only person in this situation that suffers and is paying for it is Nico, and I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, man. Listen, you said overshot their shot. I think that is it in a nutshell. You got to know your work. You got to your your hand.
Yeah.
Know your leverage.
You can't be playing spades and bid 4 books or 12 books, 8 books, 7 books, and you only got 2 spades in your hand.
Yeah, and they see what you got. Like they know
They can see your hand.
they see your hand,
Yeah,
man.
they can see your hand.
They know what you got.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I mean, it's like you can't bluff them.
Yeah.
So I'm confused.
And so this is what I think that the team is thinking, Sam. Oh, in the NFL, even if a guy isn't talented enough, you got to pay that guy, right? Well, this is college football. We see quarterbacks go and take their teams to high heights and not be the best quarterback. In the NFL, that's totally different, right? You got to get a competent guy because most of those backups can't perform in the NFL for a season. So you got to pay that guy that you know can be competent. In college football, there's been quarterbacks that can't throw a rock in the ocean that play quarterback for national championship teams, right? Guys that aren't great throwers, right? However, college football is a much more team-oriented game. You don't have to have a superstar at quarterback, right? You got to have a guy with some talent, but you don't have to have the very best guy. Think about it. Every time the best guy doesn't win a championship,
Right.
No, right? You don't have to have it. You have to have a competent guy at the college level. And I think that Tennessee said, first of all, we actually think the guy behind you might be a little better, or if not equal, except we're paying you, so we have to make it work with you. Thank God you came in here and said that,
Right.
because now we can move on.
Here's what I think. If he had kept this private, I actually don't think he would have overplayed his hand. If he had kept this private and had been willing to take somewhat of a raise. See, if he had been willing to take 400,000 and not 4 million, take a modest raise and not
400,000 rather than $2 million raise.
Yeah, and then he would have been. It would have been all right because
they would have rolled with that for sure.
Yeah, they would have paid for just, even though he's not. Listen, I think they said he was getting like 1.8 or 2 or whatever.
2.4. I think it was 2.4.
Or 2.4. Look, he didn't play to that level
at all.
The word was look, man, you coming in here like you balled out last. You didn't even play to that level.
We're pissed that we're paying you 2.4.
You coming in here?
We were going to ask you to restructure your deal, actually.
Right. In the league,
we going to ask you to restructure.
Yeah, we asked you to restructure, or we're cutting
Deshaun Watson,
or we're cutting you to play the backup.
Right.
That's how we getting down in the league.
Exactly how it happens.
But you know what? This is college. It's inconvenient to be dealing with all of this. We will give you a raise just to not deal with the inconvenience in college, right? But here's how you overplayed your hand. You're going to hold out and make this public? Now you forced their hand. You put them in the position of doing the only thing they could do. They can't make any other decision. All they can do now is tell you to kick rocks.
Sam, you think about the players on that roster, right? The defensive players that have made that engine go. They play really good defense. They know how much he's getting paid. And they're probably thinking, wait, you think you the reason? So how do you go back in the locker room if you're the head coach and say, hey, man, we got to, I know he's holding out. At what point does the team say, hold on, coach, I'm not getting paid what I deserve. Everybody else taking a pay cut so we can pay this dude? Nah, we ain't doing that. And now you got this divide, and I think right on for Tennessee standing strong and saying, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah,
but the public thing, I think you nailed it. I think the public thing is what really forced their hand.
Come on, man. If you pay him what he wants after he holds out, now you can't coach the dude. If he go to practice, he say, hey, man.
Even though I will tell you this, Sam, he is not that kid from what I've learned from being around him. He's not that kid that have that attitude. However, he's not going to give you, and I'm not talking about the talent perspective. I'm not talking about on the field. I'm talking about just leadership because he just reserved, right? So if we're paying you $2 more million, we're paying you $4 in total. Listen, not only do you need to play well, you got to be a great leader. Like, we need more from you, and he's not gonna be able to give that either.
Here's my point. Somebody told him he's not that kid, but somebody told him hold out.
Of course.
So somebody could tell him, hey, you know what? You need to.
If you don't like what's going on, you let them know.
You know what? Your shoulder, it's not hurt, but you need to rest. You need to rest on Thursday. You need to sit this out. Tell coach you're not gonna throw today. Go tell coach you're not gonna throw today. Coach, I'm not throwing today because so and so told me now I'm not throwing today. Wait a minute. Our trainer said you fine. No, coach. But so and so told me I'm not throwing today. I'm not listening to the trainer. I'm listening to who told me not to throw today. That's how this works now. You see what I'm saying? You can't coach him no more at this point. That's number one. Number two, okay, now a precedent has been set because average dude just held out for $2 million more. This ain't Jeremiah Smith.
This ain't only person in America that I'd have been cool with. Jeremiah Smith, if you want more money, you go get that. Because without you, they don't have a daddy.
This regular guy. I mean, I know it's a quarterback, but this regular quarterback.
But the quarterback position is not like in the NFL in college. It's just not. And this is not anything with against Davis Warren. Davis Warren just beat Ohio State.
I mean, no disrespect.
No disrespect. Davis Warren beat Ohio State.
Yeah, and exactly. Right. And so this just average performer. I mean, and I'm just by comparison to other quarterbacks, he's average performer compared to other quarterbacks playing. And you gonna give him $2 million more?
And Sam, he like lower echelon of the average.
Yeah, you giving license to every average player on the squad to say, average dudes can double their salary. Coach, I'm holding out. You
ain't got no practice because you ain't got no players. Yeah, we all holding out.
You got special teams to say, Coach, double my salary. Double my salary. That's what. Come on, man.
I contributed more than him.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
you can't.
It's a real tough situation. I feel bad for Nico because I'm just telling you, man. Getting a chance to work with him at the Elite 11 regional, and then getting a chance to see him compete and be around him at the OT7 7-on-7 tournament a couple years ago. He is. I honestly don't even know what his voice sounds like, to be honest. Like, he is not this kid, right? He is not this kid. I have to believe he's not this kid. Now, money does change you a lot of times, right? You get a lot of money, things start, whatever. But I have to believe he's not this kid, and it's not him that's doing this. And I have to believe at some point he's going to take control and say, listen, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. You guys are ruining my life, right? Because now you got to think about this. He has to find a new school firstly. And then he has to go in that locker room and be extra humble, right? Because of the situation that's so public, right? And then he has to perform at a high level, or everybody in that new locker room who he doesn't know, who he didn't get a chance to go through winter workouts and bleed and sweat with, everyone in that locker room is going to be saying, man, what we get this scrub for, man? What we doing? We paying him all this money because everything is going to be public from here on out. So and even if he's not getting the $4 million, everybody's going to assume he is, right, on that roster. And nobody, if I'm a player on the team and I'm out playing him in practice and I'm contributing more or whatever the case may be, if I'm a quarterback, DN, whatever, and he's getting $4 million and we are losing games because he's not making enough plays, or God forbid he throws interceptions to lose the games. Come on, man. What you going to do with that?
Yeah. Whoever is advising him
should be fired.
Absolutely, because Tennessee could not tell him yes. Like you put them in an impossible position. They cannot say yes to you at that point. Like that was unless it was your position that, okay, we're not going back to Tennessee.
Right.
Like, if that's your position, fine.
Yeah, because that's what's it's a lot of reports coming out now that, his team wasn't happy with the development of quarterbacks. It doesn't translate to the next level.
Yeah, that was your position. But if you thought you were going back,
Tennessee and every other college in America, because they run them crazy offenses. What's wrong with you?
Because there was just no way you were ever going back once you held out, because there was no way Tennessee was ever going to say yes.
No,
because they could.
They can't.
Dumb decision to hold out if you thought you were going to be able to go back. So now,
like I said, I do not feel good. I feel bad for Nico because I just don't think he's that type of kid.
Now here's the rub. This is the worst part for him. Like, he's, my opinion, he's gonna get less than what he was getting at Tennessee.
You have to. Because the market knows now you don't have nowhere to go. So we'll pay you a little bit more than somebody else, but we're not gonna get you to what you used to have. No. We've seen you play football now. Like, this isn't 5-star recruit, potential. It's, okay, we saw you play football with really good players and a good defense, and you just were, okay, middle of the pack in the whole country. So we're going to pay you good money, $1 million, $1.5 million, which I don't know how we complain about $1.5 million. However, you can't handcuff us with all of our money when we know what you're bringing to the table, not to mention you're probably going to be worse than you were because you don't have as much. You had a whole year, winter, spring, all the way to the fall, right? A whole year plus winter, spring to go learn that offense, right? And be perfect at it. And we saw that you were not. And now you're going to have less than a half year, less than 6 months. No, we can't live with that.
Look,
Urban Meyer on Tennessee. Tennessee is screwed. They've got a problem. You've got zero experience in the QB room. I think he is. I vehemently disagree with Urban Meyer. Vehemently disagree. That is the wrongest thing I think he's ever said.
They would have been screwed if they had him back.
If they would have had him back, they were screwed. So this is what the problem is. Everybody's so enamored with his talent. That's a little baffling from Urban to me because he knows how important it is for the mental side of the quarterbacking position. Right? He had Tim Tebow, who I think it's a well-known and agreed upon fact he's not a very good thrower, and he won national championships. You know what I mean? So he should know better than anybody. Hey, if you got a dude with some qualities and some traits, you can win. You don't have to have the tallest, fastest, deepest thrower of all time. And so I think that everybody is enamored with the potential and the talent, the perceived talent of Nico Iamaleava. However, this isn't him as a recruit anymore. We've seen him play.
See, but Herb had a dude who beat up one of his coaches and kept the dude on the team. You know, Herb had Percy Harvin beat up Billy Gonzalez.
Percy Harvin.
Hey, man.
And so listen to this. Percy, you got to deal with that. That coach was wrong.
Percy Harvin, nice. That's Percy. that's Percy, though.
Hey, Urban Meyer was 100% right on that. I side with Percy.
But that's Percy. What
did you say to him?
That's Percy. Hey, Charlie Strong went and pulled Percy off. He went and pulled Percy off Billy Gonzalez. Right.
Hey, Mr. Gonzalez, I'm sorry to tell you, you shouldn't have said what you said. Percy Harvin. Now, Percy, that's a caliber player that goes in and says, I'm making 2, double it, and you double it.
Right, but you understand the point. Urban is always going to be like, hey man, if he can play, I don't care what he does. And everybody's not cut like that. And do you have a coaching staff that can deal with that? And do you have the coaches that can manage a locker room like that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the kind of that was a loaded roster too? Do you have a roster like Florida had?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that Tennessee don't have it like that, Herb.
I mean, in my opinion, I think the coach is still building his culture, right? Even though he's been there for a few years, like I think he's still trying to make sure he builds the correct culture and do it the right way.
You had a Tim Tebow too.
And you had Tim Tebow.
Come on,
Tim Tebow had all that thing in check. No, say what you want about his throwing, but as far as his leadership, second to none.
Yeah, come on, man.
And guess who you had behind Tim Tebow? Cam Newton. You can do what you want, Herb.
So listen, hey, maybe this is something that helps other coaches out because maybe it discourages other guys from holding out, Devin.
I hope so. I really hope so because I think a lot of people are, especially someone super talented like Nico. Nothing about him says not a pro, right? When you on the onset, right? When you first look, right? But obviously, we know it's so much more that goes into, especially the quarterback position. like the way you think, how fast you can think, how you can process all those different things. How you play when you get hit in the mouth, right? I think that's something that's being forgotten in this new 7-on-7 age. In my opinion, the only person that plays 7-on-7 that it's beneficial to the level that everybody thinks it is, wide receiver. Wide receivers can't really get hit across the middle, right? Wide receivers are out there on that island, right? If your wide receiver is not a great blocker, nobody cares because guess what? He can run routes and he can catch. Corners, you got to tackle in real games. Linebackers, obviously, you are a run stopper first in real games. So 7-on-7 is garbage. Safeties, you down in that box making tackles. Obviously, there are no offensive linemen. And then for running backs, you are basically obsolete in 7-on-7. And for a quarterback, I think it's the worst for you because you get the false sense of security that makes you believe you can chill and just be cool, your heart not racing, and make throws. And that is not how football is played, and it will never be played like that. As much as this war on football, and we got to make sure it's safer and all that, the quarterback will be hit, period. And if you can't function in that arena, you can't play quarterback, no matter how well you can throw, no matter how talented you are. If you don't have the mental fortitude, the intestinal fortitude to get hit in the face, your face mask all crooked, you're looking out your ear hole, and then get up, get the play from the, now get the play in your helmet, and then look those men in the face and tell them to play as if you didn't get hit in the mouth, and then go perform, and then get up and do it again over and over. If that's not you, you don't have a shot. Right? I don't care how much 7-on-7. I go to Elite 11 camps, and all these guys are so talented at throwing the football. And when I tell you, this is the greatest age of throwers, right? Not necessarily passers, but throwers. Everybody can throw. So the fact that someone can throw when he's not being hit is not impressive to me. Mm-hmm. It's not impressive to me. I'm sorry. But when you get in that game and I watch you get knocked down a few times, you get back up, because I'm just telling you, I call a lot of football games all around the country. I see quarterbacks that play so well early in the game. And then the coach says, from the other team, defense coordinator says, I'm sick of it. Hit him. We got to get him. And then you get him hit a couple times, and them throws just not as tight. The spiral is a little wobbly. The read, why didn't you throw it? You double clutching. Those things are real, and I think it's being ignored in this new NIL age. The one thing that Tennessee did know, they know exactly who he is. They've been around him for a very long time. And they said, and this is why I don't understand Urban Meyer's deal, because he hasn't been around him. He doesn't know him personally. He doesn't know his mind. He doesn't know in those games what reads were he missing? What throws did he actually miss? What things were his fault as opposed to the naked eye when we're watching, we don't know the plays, the other people's fault on the field. He doesn't know that. And Tennessee knows something that it's almost like a draft day, that movie when they didn't draft Bo Callahan. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then everybody's called around. What's wrong with Bo? What's wrong? Yeah. Well, because some people know things that you don't know. And I'm just telling you, there's not a coach in America, coaching active or not, that knows Nico Iamaleava better than the coaching staff at Tennessee. And they said, you're not worth it.
Yeah, because think about it. I tell you what, there was a point where, before it's public, where Tennessee is tipped off that he's shopping. Mm-hmm. Either they're trying to poach or he's shopping. The word was that he was shopping, and that Dan Lanning tipped Tennessee off that he's shopping. And
I don't know how true that is, but
yeah. I don't know how true that is, but that's the word. I'm qualifying it as that's the word. That's what's being said. I don't know if it's true. It could be that some team is trying to poach. Either way, there was some negotiation going on. And that Tennessee was talking to him, and there was some back and forth. And they obviously didn't give him the number. Mm-hmm. And he held out. Now, this same thing is going on in every program across the country, include Michigan, where there could either be a player there's an attempted poaching, or he's being shopped, and there's a decision that has to be made, where you could either say, hey, I'm going to try to keep him, and there's a negotiation, and I'm gonna lay it down because I'm gonna keep this guy. I'm not gonna let this guy get away. He's too important to get away. Or you know what? There's a line I'm gonna go to, and if you go past this line, you can go. I could tell you, There are guys with Michigan. I'm not gonna let this guy get away. I'm not gonna let this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not letting this guy get away. Tennessee didn't do that with Nico, with whoever. They didn't do that with Nico. To your point, they said there's a certain level that we're gonna go with you, and that's it. If it's got to go beyond this, then you know what? So be it. And then when he got, and I think it was, look, this is the point. This is the crazy thing to me. Like, he could have got more. He could have probably got 2.5, 2.6, 2.7.
I think they might even went to 3.
Yeah,
just so they don't have to deal with the garbage.
Right, and you should have been happy with that. What do you say? You say crazy? That's Devin.
Crazy.
You should have been happy
crazy.
with that.
You know how I get that crazy.
You should have been happy with that. But he wasn't. He had to be public about it.
And it's, it's taking the model from the NFL, but this ain't the NFL. There's no salad. There's no rules, right? So as much as there's no rules for player, he can ask for $40 billion if he wants. There's no rules for the college for them to have to pay it. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody thought it's like his team, and a lot of people think this way, that it's no rules one-sided where you can just get as much money as you want. Well, there's no rules on their side where they can say, we don't think you're worth it. Not going to pay you.
Yep. Let's jump off of this. Before we do, I want to tell those. That's it. Yeah, that's
very responsible. Very responsible. We still got to get a shirt.
Yeah. Ground transportation needs. There's one company to call. Aside from my medical needs, I've been telling you guys, I care for my mom. These days, I've been, I bring her down from Flint for all of her medical needs down at the University of Michigan Medical Center. Recently.
Sam, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Sam. Sam can't hear me either. All right, guys. I think Sam is having a little issues with his audio, and he's giving a very passionate soliloquy about transportation. And or is it that you can't hear me? Who's not being heard? Because Sam is giving so much passion with this Gold Limo soliloquy as if he has no idea that he can't be heard. If you're in the chat and you can hear me and can't hear Sam, okay, so it's Sam. He is giving let's laugh at Sam. We hear me. He is giving the most passionate Gold Limo. And so this is where I love, because now I get to give it, right? Gold Limo, right? I mean, I've written on Gordon Limo a plethora of times, and Sam was giving the story of how his mom is having medical troubles, and they're going and picking her up, and she doesn't trust the secondary services, and she really don't trust Sam, to be honest. Don't tell him I told you. She really don't trust Sam, the driver. However, she does trust Gold Limo, right? So Gold Limo's picking her up, taking her to her appointments, because as you know, Sam is the busiest man on the planet, right? I text him, call him, hey, are we doing a show? What time we're gonna go? And he never responds. And you just can't depend on Sam, basically, is what I'm saying, right? But you know who you can depend on? Gold Limo. Every single time. Every time I've ridden, outstanding. They got the Pellegrino waters, which I don't always love because I'm just not a sparkling water guy. Sam loves them, right? On time, every time. The experience is so great from the sedans, right? I got picked up from a Michigan game to go home in the small sedan. Perfect, right? On time, seat pushed all the way up. I'm sure they knew I was tall, right? Open the door for you, get in, safe drive all the way home. To the big SUVs, right? Where my lady's with me, right? And she has to come, right? So I need a little more space, right? I need a little more space. Seat still needs to be up, right? Long legs, but she comes as well. Or the party bus, which I particularly love. Obviously, Sam rides on it alone, right? With his Pellegrinos in the cooler. But Golden Limo has done an amazing job. not only with their transportation, not only for Michigan football, but also all of the doctors on campus, right? The different kind of activities you have on an Ann Arbor campus. And guess what? Sam always says it, and it's true. If you want to go abroad, they got you covered there too, right? You want to go to Paris, you want to go to Rome, wherever you want to go, is make sure you book with Golden Limo, and they will get you to your destination quickly, safely, and with no danger. So I'm just happy that Sam gave all that effort talking about anything. I would have happy whatever he's talking about, and nobody heard him. That is like my dream. And so I love you guys, man. Let DG cook. I agree, Jeremy. Let him cook. But what we're going to talk about next is the spring, right? And the quarterbacks. And when Sam comes back, he'll probably have some other stuff to say. But I'll give you guys kind of my broad stroke thoughts from the people I've talked to and my experience as a competitor and playing in the spring. Like I talked about in the beginning of this episode, State Street and Main Street are two different places, right? On State Street is where you practice, Schembeckler Hall, great things happen, and you can kind of see maybe what people will become, but the fire is not nearly as hot as it is when you're in the arena on Main Street. Playing in the big house is one of the greatest experiences of my life. And obviously, I've been fortunate enough to play in front of the largest crowd on American soil in a college football stadium, 115,000 plus against Notre Dame. And firstly, just want to talk about the mental side of the focus it takes to block out all of you guys in the chat, right, during the game, right? From the time you go out to warm up to the second or third time you go out to when the game starts, the national anthem, there are so many distractions with 115,000 people in the stands, right? That plays a big role into making Main Street significantly different than State Street. Significantly different. That alone, right? That's not including the fact that the team on the other side is trying to kill you. That's not including the fact that the team on the other side has spent the entire week, maybe sometimes longer, just devising a plan to make you fail, right? Let's forget about that. Let's just start with the mental side of 110,000 most Saturdays, just distractions. It's a tough thing to do, right? And in today's game, it's even tougher because of the NIL. Because now, not only do you have those distractions on your mind, right? Not only do you have like your English 101 test or your biology exam, all those different things in the back of your mind, right? Can't be at the forefront. But you also have NIL. Oh my goodness, I'm being paid all this money. They're expecting so much, all these different things. And so the distractions are at an all-time high in today's game. And that just furthers the point of State Street and Main Street being two very, very different places. Welcome back, Sam.
Yeah,
we already
man.
did our deal on Golden Limo. You don't
Oh,
gotta
you
go
did?
through that. We did
You
all
got Golden
that.
Limo in?
We
Thank
did
you.
Golden Limo.
All right.
We didn't say nothing else. We didn't like attack you or talk about you or anything.
Oh,
Ain't that right,
okay.
Chat?
All right.
Yep.
Did you
We
talk about,
made
did you
sure
talk
we
about,
kept you out of it.
did you talk
And
about
then-
Daniel messing up that trade between
No,
Dallas
we
and
didn't get into Daniel. Daniel gonna have to answer for that though, because that's
All right.
ridiculous.
Well,
I was just kind of giving a broad stroke over the spring, but you can say what you want to say before I get started directly on the quarterbacks. I was just letting them know how different the State Street, just reiterating State Street and Main Street and how different it is.
Listen, the spring game is gonna have, I think, attendance. I think is gonna be as high as it's been in a long time for a couple of reasons. Number one, in order to see it live, you're gonna have to be there. It will not be televised live. You're gonna have to be there. Otherwise, you're gonna have to see it on delay next week. That's their answer to all of this concern over, the poaching and all of that. I think it's a great answer by Michigan because they said we aren't going to not have a spring game like some of these other coaches who are so concerned about their players being poached. So if you want to see it live, you got to be there. The other reason is Bryce Underwood. People want to see Bryce. Just a tremendous talent. And then the word is that he has just been outstanding in practice. And I like to hear multiple points of multiple data points. I like to hear it not just from coaches, not just from players, and then not just from visitors. Like, and you want to hear it from on all fronts, and then from different points of spring practice, not just from guys who come to visit at the beginning of the spring, but also guys who come, at the end of the spring as well. Various points of so all of those different data points. And I got to tell you, Devin, on all fronts, the consensus is the young fella has been really good.
Mm-hmm.
He has been really good from the standpoint of all the things that we know: big, strong, really good arm. His mobility, ability to extend plays has
Mm-hmm.
been really evident. But those are the things that we know, the things that you wonder about. How quickly can he process? Not just from the standpoint of can he process what he sees, but how quickly can he process the playbook? How quickly can he process, hey, you know what? You saw this coverage. Now they're disguising it. How quickly can you process that? Right? How quickly can you process these pressures that they're bringing? They're showing you different pressures from practice 6 to practice 8. Do you recognize those now once you get to practice 9? Right? And how quickly he's picking those kinds of things up. They've been really impressed by that. It's like, hey man, the way how quickly he's picking those things up, they're like, man, this dude, he's very, very precocious in that way. It's like, man, that has been impressive. And yet, and this is where I want you to temper the excitement for people. Don't tell them to not be excited, but this is where you as a player who's been there before, as a quarterback, can really bring the perspective to them to say, hey man, number one, there's a difference between doing it first on the practice field, second, doing it at the spring game, right? And then doing it on a game day in front of people. And then third, doing it on a game day in front of people when you're getting hit. All of those things are different.
Yeah. So, before you came back on and interrupted our time, it was the DG show. We were having a great time. The chat was very active. But you came in, you ruined it, and gave your soliloquy that you just gave, which is fine. I was telling them about State Street and Main Street and kind of expanding upon like things you have to deal with outside of the plays, your teammates, and all that, right? We can't even get to the physical part because the mental part is so daunting, if you will. Just dealing with all the different things that you have to deal with, and then it's accelerated and a little different now just because of the money involved, right? Where the expectation is higher because you're being paid, and whether it's real or perceived, right? It's in you, right? Your subconscious mind, your heart, you feel the pressure and the weight of the world because of the financial prowess that you've come into, and the expectations are high, and so dealing with that while also trying to perform and be a great teammate, all those different things is very difficult, right? So this is why we take practice and it's even the spring game with a grain of salt. Now, spring game is it's a level above practice, right? Because it is on Main Street. But there's no real losers, if you will. I mean, I guess there's steaks and hot dogs. There's steaks and hot dogs. There's not, oh, you may not make it to the playoff, or you may not make the Big Ten championship, or you may not compete for that. That's not at stake in the spring, right? You're in a position where you should be able to honestly play freely. Now, some people can play freely in the spring game, some people cannot, right? It just depends on how you look at it, right? What's your perspective? Hey, I'm looking at this like, oh, it's just another practice. This is fine. There's no stakes. I can go out. Oh, stakes. The one stakes is on the line is the physical stakes that you get to eat maybe when you win. But there's no real stakes. I can go out and play free. But it's the pressure of expectation that some people crumble under, right? It's very difficult to have great expectation and not and still succeed and keep a clear mind and all those different things. So Bryce is everything I've heard as well is playing well in the spring. And not only Bryce, Jaden Davis, right? I think Jaden Davis, in my opinion, to a lot of people in the building, is maybe the biggest surprise of spring, right? Because I don't know how much they expected from him, but he's getting a lot more reps because of the absence of King.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he is proving that maybe he is worth the Elite 11 and the 4-star, 4.5 or whatever it was, as he came into Michigan, because I think he was a kind of forgotten one where everybody said, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna look past him. He can't play." And I think he took it personally. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I know for a fact he took it personally. I've had conversations with him, and he is on a mission to prove that he is worthy, right? And it's not necessarily proving any of the people who have doubted him wrong. It's more so proving himself right. Right, him and his family, they believe in themselves and they believe in their son and their brother and what have you. And so I think that he is in a position where nobody expects him to compete, and he's come out and competed well. And I think that this is the best thing, not only for him, but for Bryce Underwood. Because now you have a Bryce Underwood who's got all these expectations, and you got a guy who is being a great teammate to you, similar to the way Denard was to me, even though you're competing for the same thing, right? That's going to give Bryce Underwood the freedom to truly develop organically rather than, oh, I gotta beat Jaden Davis. I gotta beat him out. I gotta prove everybody. I gotta make sure that I'm worth all this money and blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like Jaden Davis is giving him the freedom to grow how he should grow organically, like we talked about many, many weeks ago before he even got to Michigan. And Jaden Davis, on the other hand, his development has been accelerated because now he's got a fire lit under him by a guy who's the first 1,000 recruit or 100% recruit, right? Which means he's for sure a first rounder, for sure going to be a franchise changer in the NFL, right? You get him walking in the door, and when you see them next to each other, right, you got this big giant dude, right? I mean, as big as they come at the quarterback position in Bryce Underwood, and then Jaden Davis just unassuming, right? Regular sized guy, right? You have that to drive you. I think that this is perfect for both of these guys to become their best self as we move forward.
Yeah, I give first of all, that was the mindset for Jaden when he committed. Both he and his dad Jeremiah said, I hope they recruit. Are they recruiting Bryce? I hope they recruit Bryce. And this is when, Michigan, they were still sort of kind of on the periphery for Bryce.
Yeah.
They weren't a major factor. And they said, oh, I hope they become a major factor for Bryce. We want them to recruit Bryce Underwood. It's like, we want him to come. And that's when they weren't on the major radar.
It sounds like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like Tay Forcier just beat Notre Dame. Devin Gardner's in the stands. And he's like, what does this have to do with me? I don't care if he 1 year ahead of me. Heisman talk, I'm going.
It's like, come on, yeah, have him come. We want to compete. So he was not, don't have him come here. That was he was like that even before. And I would give him a lot of credit. It would have been very easy to check out once he was coming in. And based on the way, I think he was a guy who's, it's not his talent didn't go anywhere. I think his confidence did.
Yeah.
And I think,
which is, it's an easy thing to lose.
And I think just the whole situation, and I don't think that, a lot was invested in him in keeping his confidence up.
Yeah.
Just like, remember I said,
he's drowning, right? We don't have time to throw you a life raft. We're also drowning, right? This season this could be the end for everybody here involved. Right. Everybody could lose their job.
Right. So just like I said, I didn't think that they had, look, and I'm not being revisionist. I didn't think that they, I didn't think they really knew how to put a system in place for Alex. I didn't think that they really had much invested in let's do what we need to do to kind of get Jaden in line, or let's see what we got. Now,
sometimes that's the fire that you need, though. For people to openly not believe in you.
True. But you look at what's happened with Chip and Josh Synagoga. They have really come in, and as much as they've invested, and man, we got this great young talent in Bryce Underwood, and they have really obviously put a lot into him. They have put a lot into, hey man, we're gonna build Jaden Davis up too. They have really invested in that.
Well, you got to think about it. These are two guys that have seen a lot of football, seen quarterbacks, top quarterbacks come and go, right? And I like to think of like DJ Uiagalelei, right? A guy who was this top quarterback. He's big, he's strong, he can do all these things, and he even plays well as a freshman. And then it completely unravels, right? It completely unravels, and we see what he is today. 4 schools, I think it was, in 5 years, whatever the case may be, right? So it's not an exact science. Understand? I even went through from 2015 the top 5 quarterbacks of every class. There's at least one that did nothing, and then in every single class, at least one, and a lot of times it's more than one. But there's at least one 5-star that they thought was a 5-star or a can't miss recruit that does nothing and moves to different schools. And then there are a couple guys that are not recruited very highly, maybe 4-star, 3-star, or whatever, who become great. And I think that they understand that, right? Chip Lindsey, Synagogue. I think they understand that, and they say, hey, of course we're going to give everything we can to this talent that is Bryce Underwood. Of course. But it's not an exact science, and we don't know for sure what he will become. And guess what? We have another quarterback who was highly touted, maybe not as highly, but highly touted. And it's our job as coaches to see a young man, right? Okay, he may have lost some of his confidence, right? I need to get the best out of him. Not I need to get the best out of my prize recruit. I need to get best out of everyone in the room. And that includes Keen, who is not performing right now, right? It's their job to make sure that they don't leave anyone behind. No man left behind, right? They used to say that in schools, right? No child left behind. Well, there's no player that should be left behind in a position-specific room. And I think they're doing a really good job of that. And the evidence shows by the reports of Jaden Davis, who has kind of, it seems like he's gotten his confidence back, right? He's got renewed confidence and belief in himself. And when you have that and you have talent as well, there's nothing you can't do.
Devin, you got to scoop, man. You got to scoop. So go ahead and scoop. I'm going to lay out for you folks while Devin exits stage right over here.
Love you, people, and I spend a lot of time with them, so they're good with it. Yeah. We had a great time together when you weren't there. All right,
bye. Folks, I got a few things coming over on MichiganInsider.com. I sort of laid out for you that I took a different approach to how I was going to do the spring practice reporting this cycle, for a few different reasons. One of them being a lot of the complaints. You had some people saying, "Hey, man, your spring practice reports last year, man, they were inaccurate because, and some of those dudes you talked about, man, they weren't that good. Those guys didn't perform well." Well, the spring practice reports, they aren't predictors of performance. They're reports of how guys did in practice. That's thus the reports, not forecasts. Reports, not forecasts. So you hope that they translate to success on the field when the lights are on, but they don't always. Thus, you heard Devin, if you were here, he's like, "Hey, man, Mike Cox looked like Adrian Peterson in practice." That's how it works sometimes. So I think a good rule of thumb, and I sort of went over this on the morning show, to me, I think if you want to look at practice reports, what are the best, what reports translate more readily than others? The ones where you have reports of players who you've seen sort of shine on game days before. So, for instance, all the reports that you've seen about Jayshon Barham doing this thing. Like, okay, now, yeah, there were a lot of reports about Jayshon Barham last year. Make no mistake. Like, yeah, I remember the reports, and somebody brought this up. Hey, well, you remember you guys said that Jayshon Barham was a bigger, more athletic Devin Bush. That was actually a quote from Grant Newsome his last spring or fall. I think Grant said that. He's like he's the most athletic player I've ever been around. He's a bigger Devin Bush, was what he said. Now, obviously, Jayshon got out there on the field, and it wasn't like that for the first half of the season. I mean, you saw, play here or play there, but it didn't really manifest consistently with him making plays for about 6 games. But then at about the halfway point, a switch flipped and he started consistently being a playmaker for that defense. It was a little bit earlier than that for Ernest Hausman. For Ernest Hausman, it was about the third game, like after the Texas game, where he almost got benched after that. It was like a switch flip for him, like around the Washington game where he started balling. And so for those players, and especially Jay Sean, who that dude, it's on offense, it's obviously Bryce. On defense, it's Jay Sean, where it's like consistently you hearing rave reviews. That's a guy who you've actually seen on the field on Saturdays do it at a high level. Hearing it about him this year, I think, is a good indicator of a guy who is going to translate for, because you've seen it. Like, you can buy, I think you can reasonably buy that he's probably going to be big time. All the raves, like, oh man, he's going to be all American. Oh man, he's going to be he's going to do it. He could be a first round pick. That I think you could buy. The reports about guys who haven't done it, some of the freshmen or some of the backups who you haven't seen perform in front of, on the big stage or under the light, so to speak. Those are the ones where you probably have to temper it more, because it hasn't been, with the magnitude of the moment before them. You got to wait to see how it's going to look when the pressure is on, when the heat is bearing down on them. Just don't know how it's going to be. So you got to kind of temper things a little bit. Practice reports aren't necessarily a predictor of success, but you got to meet people where they are. I understand that, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I kind of took the tact that I did this year. I said, hey, you know what? As opposed to giving the blow by blow, where we're going from practice to practice. Hey, this person looked real good in this practice, and people take that and they think, oh man, this dude is going to ball out in the fall. That might not be the best way to do it in this day and age, where people think every report is a sign that somebody is going to be spectacular. Maybe we take a little bit of a different approach. It also makes it a little bit harder to steal stuff too, without being obvious about it. If it's a more of an aggregate report, like I'm going to do today, the first one will be on Bryce, where I'm going to focus first. The first part of the report is like practices 1 through 5. And there's some significance to why I focus on practice 1 through 5. And then the second part of the report focuses on practices 6 through 13. And there's some significance to why I focus on practices 6 through 13, and how he did from the first block of practices that I focus on to the second block of practices that I focus on, and why they're sort of encouraged by, man, this just looks different. And at the same time, I'm also taking Devin's point of view and saying, hey, even as encouraging as that is, you still got to temper it some. Then we'll move on to, I'll maybe jump to some of the defensive guys after that. Maybe jump into I'll probably jump into Jay Sean after that. Jump into some of the defensive linemen, edges, interior defensive linemen. Maybe jump out to some of the linebackers. I'll then jump into receivers. Then maybe jump into old linemen. After that, I'll jump into corners, then safeties. I'll come back out to tight ends. By that time, we'll be into the game. And then after the game, we'll come back with some more intel, maybe jump into the portal. And that'll be the reporting. And so that's kind of the approach. The other reason why we sort of put it off is because I wanted to really, really focus on the unprecedented visitors that they've had in this spring, where they've just had more big time visitors than they've ever had in the spring ball. I think we've had like 40 of them actually come in studio. So I wanted to focus a lot of attention on that as well. Thus the the focus this spring being a little bit different. So there you have it. Want to give you a little glimpse of what's to come, but we'll start off with Bryce here a little bit after the show. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Steady Dropping Dimes. We're going to be getting into a. I was hoping that Devin was going to broadcast. We'll get into a recap on Dimes next week, and so since Devin won't be there, what I'll do is I'll have Al Borges jump in with us and don't tell Devin, but I'll have Al jump in with us for a recap edition of Steady Dropping Dimes next week with special guest Al Borges without Devin knowing about it. So just so we'll surprise him with it for you guys. All right. That'll do it for this edition of Steady Dropping Dimes. We'll see you next week, folks.